Have you ever wondered what it really takes to become a modern-day magician? Well, today we're cracking open self-initiation into the Golden Dawn tradition. And you can forget everything you've seen in the movies because this is a serious, complete curriculum for personal and spiritual growth, and it's all designed for you to do it completely on your own. So what's actually inside a modern guide to some pretty ancient magic? That's the big question, right? We're going to follow the journey of an aspiring magician, step by step, to see just what makes this esoteric tradition tick. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the core idea of this as a real curriculum. Then we'll dive into that very first initiation. After that, we'll see how a student progresses through the elemental grades, explore the intense amount of study required, and finally, get to the bottom of the ultimate goal of it all, the great work. Okay, right off the bat, let's be super clear about something. This isn't about casting spells to win the lottery. The Golden Dawn tradition is way more like a spiritual science, a really structured system for deep personal development. This quote just perfectly nails the whole mindset. You see, it's not about just dabbling or messing around. It's a serious discipline that demands a rock-solid foundation of knowledge. Just like becoming a doctor or an engineer, you have to know your stuff. And that foundation, it's built on these four pillars. You study the theory, and there's a lot of it. You apply that theory through ritual. You internalize it all through meditation. And then you prove you actually understand it through exams. Yeah, exams. This is a demanding path, for sure. It requires real commitment. And get this, that commitment is measured in years, not weeks. The book recommends spending a full 6 months just in the very first grade. The message couldn't be clearer. Real spiritual growth is a marathon, not a sprint. Trying to rush through this stuff, you're basically missing the entire point. So with all that in mind, where does this incredible journey even begin? It all starts with the neophyte grade, which has the designation 0 equals 0. This is the front door, the entry point, where the student learns the absolute basic building blocks of this magical universe. Now here's where it gets fascinating, especially for a solo practitioner. In a group, you'd have different people playing these roles, but when you're alone, you learn to visualize these figures as powerful archetypes, or god forms drawn from Egyptian mythology. You're literally building a temple inside your own mind to do the work. The initiation itself is this highly structured ceremony, almost like a personal psychodrama. It all starts with a very solemn oath. Then the aspirant goes through a symbolic purification with water and a consecration with fire. Only then are they formally welcomed onto the path. It's an incredibly powerful ritual, all designed to trigger a profound internal shift. Okay, so once you've mastered the basics as a neophyte, you don't just jump to the advanced stuff. No way. Instead, you begin this systematic journey through 4 more grades, and each one corresponds to one of the classical elements: earth, air, water, and fire. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. Mastering the element of earth doesn't mean you can make flowers grow on command. It's all an internal process. The real goal is to examine, purify, and balance the earthy parts of your own personality. You're asking yourself, am I too rigid? Am I not grounded enough? Am I too emotional or maybe not empathetic enough? It's this deep, deep form of psychological and spiritual alchemy. This slide gives you a perfect example of how it's all structured. The first elemental grade is called Zelator, and it's all about earth. The name itself, from the Greek for zealot, suggests a real passionate commitment. And those numbers, 1 equals 10, they're super significant. They mark the student's very first step onto the Kabbalistic tree of life, which is like a map of the spiritual universe. You start at the very bottom, right here, in the physical world. You know, all this ritual work doesn't just happen in a bubble. It's supported by a huge amount of intellectual study. The curriculum is absolutely packed with what they call knowledge lectures. And these cover the core esoteric sciences that form the system's philosophical backbone. And at the very heart of all that knowledge is Kabbalah. You can think of it as the map of creation. Its main symbol, the Tree of Life, is this incredible diagram that shows how the universe and our own consciousness are structured, unfolding in 10 stages or emanations called the Sephiroth. Just to give you a taste of what we're talking about, here are a few of the Sephiroth. You've got Kether, the crown, which is like the very first spark of creation. Then there's Tifereth, or beauty, which is the point of perfect balance right in the heart of the tree. Yesod, the foundation, is sort of like the energetic blueprint for our world. And finally, Malkus, the kingdom, is the actual physical world we experience every day. Next up is alchemy. But as we've already touched on, this isn't about chemistry sets. It's presented here as the science of transformation. The whole idea of breaking something down, purifying its core components, and then putting it back together in a higher, better form is applied directly to the human soul. And finally, there's astrology, which is used here as a symbolic language. The goal isn't to predict if you're going to have a good Tuesday. It's to understand the different qualities of various spiritual and psychological forces. For instance, the book explains that the planet Saturn represents concepts like discipline, structure, and limitation. It's known as the great taskmaster of the cosmos, the great teacher. So, with all of this intense study, all the ritual, all the meditation, you have to be wondering, what's the end game? What's the point? Well, all of these different practices are aimed at one single ultimate objective, what they call the great work. This slide lays it out perfectly. The popular idea of alchemy is, turning lead into actual physical gold. But spiritual alchemy, which is the focus here, is a mystical doctrine. Its goal is the transformation of the practitioner themselves, to raise their own consciousness and their entire being to a higher, more refined state. And this right here, this is the key takeaway, all summed up in one powerful quote. The base metals aren't lead or iron. They're the rough, unrefined parts of our own personalities, our bad habits, our fears, our limitations. And the spiritual gold? That's the wisdom and enlightenment we can achieve. The great work is the lifelong journey of turning one into the other. So that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This tradition presents a path of just incredible depth, one that demands immense patience and dedication. And in our modern age, an age that so often prioritizes speed and quick fixes above everything else, it really makes you wonder, what can we learn from a system of personal growth that's designed to take an entire lifetime?